Greetings to Perspectives El Paso. I'm Professor Blevins, Professor of Government at El Paso Community College. Today I have someone as a guest that involves politics. In the past, when I've had political guests on, I have had response from someone in the public saying that I was just too political. But I can tell you that I invite people depending on circumstances that are happening out there. And as it turns out today, I have a Democrat on the stage with me. And we're going to talk about his involvement in politics and going to the National Democratic Convention and then going to the inauguration of Barack Obama as president. My special guest today is lawyer, attorney here in El Paso, Don Williams. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, I've seen you at various events over several years at a number of occasions, but especially this year, you have been all over the board.
Yeah.
I want you to tell us a little bit about your where you grew up, how you got involved into politics and things like this. Let's start with back there.
Okay, well, I'm from Houston, Texas originally. And I grew up in the, well, I'll just tell you, I was born in 51. Okay?
1951.
So this year I'll be 58 years old, May 22nd.
Here we are in February of 2009. And when's your birthday?
May 22nd.
May 22nd.
I'll be 58 years old.
Well, you're real young.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, do you remember the days of segregation in Houston?
Yes. Well, here's the part about it. When you're growing up in it, it doesn't have all these different names. But once you get to high school and college and so forth, you realize what you grew up in. And up until about 14 years old, I grew up in the totally segregated section of town of Houston, Texas. I remember having to ride on the back of the bus, the separate water fountains, the separate restrooms, the separate restaurants. Even riding on the train, we had separate cars. But one of the things that was closer to me was that in school, when we got the new books at our school, those books had people's names in it already.
They'd already been used.
They had already been used. And so things along those lines, again, when you're growing up in it, you're growing up in it.
Right.
Until you leave it and you can look back on it, then you realize what type of effect it may or may not have had on your life.
Right. So when you finished school there, where did you go to law school?
Well, I didn't finish school there. I went up until about the 9th grade, and then 2 days later, I started middle school. I guess that's what we'd call it now. It was junior high school in Germany.
Oh, okay. Your father was in the military.
My father was in the military. It was during the time of a recession, and he was part of the last hired, first fired, and he lost his job. He was 37 years old and went back into the Army as a private.
Oh my.
To keep us from starving to death. So at that time, I think he was perhaps a E4. I think he'd gotten his rank, some rank back because he was in World War II. And then 2 or 3 days later, I started school in Germany.
Culture shock?
Unbelievable culture shock. But one of the things that happened is when I was being interviewed by the counselor with my parents, she saw my report card from Houston, Texas, had Booker T. Washington Junior High School on it, and it had straight A's, and she said, "You will not make these types of grades here because our standards are so much higher than what you're accustomed to." And for about 6 months, she was right.
So you had to raise that level of effort to achieve the level that you wanted?
I really, even as a child, I couldn't accept people putting limitations on me.
Right, right.
And so about 6 months going through the culture shock and so forth, then my grades start coming back to A's and B's, and then eventually the National Honor Society.
Okay, let's move you to law school and then how you got to El Paso, because we want most of the program to be about what you've been doing this year.
Okay, well, I went from Germany to El Paso. My senior year was at Burgess High School. So my father was stationed here, and that's how we got here.
Okay.
I received a nomination to the United States Military Academy at West Point, went there the summer of '69, didn't like it. There were some other problems. Came home, started UTEP, and got here and liked it, stayed, was relatively successful, and then from UTEP, I went to the University of Texas School of Law.
Okay, and finished there. I understand that you serve not only in legal practice, but you also serve as a judge?
As a visiting associate judge. I was a former associate family court judge. And I'm one of the, it's only 2 of us in town now that qualifies for that new statute. It says if you have been an associate judge for 2 years, you can come in. It's kind of like a substitute teacher. So right now I've been substituting off and on since about October. at the courthouse. And this past Friday was my last day for a period of time.
Were you the first black judge to serve on the bench in El Paso?
Yes, that was back in 1992 as an associate municipal court judge. And then from there, I've held a number of different positions, criminal magistrate, associate family court judge, and on until visiting associate judge in 2 separate courts, one in the 65th District Court and recently appointed in the 171st District Court.
Okay, let's move you over to politics. In the Democratic Party,
yes.
Did you serve as precinct chair?
No.
Okay, how did you get into politics?
Well, I've always been involved on the fringes. And back in, I guess, the early 80s, I was still on active duty. I met a gentleman by the name of R.E.L. Washington.
Oh, I knew him. Colonel Washington.
And the colonel was involved in I think it was a coalition, a black coalition. And there had been some rift in that coalition, and he started the Black El Paso Democrats. So
You're now chair of that, aren't you?
I am the chair of the Black El Paso Democrats. I'm a charter member, but again, on the fringes. So I've walked the precincts and I've signed off people and I've been to the banquets and things along those lines. But I think it was in 2005 when Otis Hopkins, who was the chair after the colonel, asked if I would take over the organization simply because his job as a director with Raytheon took him out of the country. And I thought about it for a couple of years before doing it.
Well, Colonel Washington and his sons were very involved in the Jesse Jackson campaign back in the 1980s.
That's correct.
Did you get involved in that campaign or something?
Again, on the fringes. I was not heavily involved with that campaign. I was for Jesse Jackson at the time, but I didn't go to any of the conventions and so forth. Let's cut to the chase.
Okay.
This year was my first time going to the precinct, the county, the state, the national, and the inauguration.
So you really got serious. You got off the fringes and jumped right into the pot.
Jumped right into it.
Okay.
There was a reason for doing that.
Okay. Now, when you went to your precinct convention, did you sign in for Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama?
I signed in for Barack Obama.
Well, that was a shock to people in your precinct, wasn't it? Because
not really, considering I had his T-shirts and caps and so forth all over me. It was very interesting. I was elected the precinct, I guess, the convention chair, even though we were outnumbered 2 to 1. And I think it was the attitude and the way you treated people. And so obviously there were some Hillary people because I think it was 120 some odd to 30. And I was elected the precinct chairman to go to the county convention from that precinct.
Now, at the county convention, didn't you get involved in a fight over the allocation of seats and delegates to go to the state convention?
I don't like to call it a fight. It was a disagreement.
A disagreement. Did you win the disagreement?
Not at the county level.
Okay.
There was a disagreement as to the allocation of delegates.
Okay.
What most of us didn't understand is that there were the precincts elected a number of people, and then there was at large. The at-large delegation was supposed to reflect the entire convention when it comes to demographics, women, men, Hispanics, blacks, and so forth, and the opposite party. So I think there were approximately maybe 40 some odd at-large delegates, and 90%, the committee allotted 90% of those delegates to Hillary Clinton.
This is Hillary country.
This is Hillary country. Okay, and I can understand that.
Right.
However, when you have rules, you're supposed to follow those rules.
Right.
And we challenged that the way it was allocated.
You approached it like a lawyer, didn't you?
There's no other way to approach it. When you have rules and you have interpretations, one, I am a lawyer. Two, I have judicial training. And when you have certain words, they mean certain things. One of the key words was shall, not will, not may. And when it's shall, it's mandatory.
Right.
May is discretionary. So when all was said and done, we did go to the state, and instead of 18 Obama delegates, I think we ended up with 44 Obama delegates to go to the state convention.
And then you got elected to the state convention to go to the national convention.
Then at the state convention, we had to campaign among our own to get to go to the national. Because see, there were only 2 senatorial 29 for Hillary and 1 for Obama.
The state senatorial district.
Right. So I campaigned and won that 1 seat to represent our senatorial district at the national convention.
Now tell me the thrill that you had of being in Denver at the national convention with an African-American man as the front runner in a sense.
Well, you know, thrill is not really the right word. And I really can't explain what the word is, but it was more a sense of belonging, becoming. It was at that point in time when I actually felt that I was becoming a full-fledged citizen.
Oh, okay.
After all of these years.
Full acceptance.
Full acceptance.
Okay.
And it's very difficult, you know, but you have to know the background of an individual to actually appreciate what that nomination and what his election actually did to certain of us who appreciated what happened.
Right. Now, and you're looking at history in the past, say Abraham Lincoln. Here we are at the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Did you identify with that with the fact that Barack Obama is from Illinois and Lincoln was from Illinois?
It's uncanny, isn't it?
It was, yeah, uncanny is the word you use.
This is really uncanny about how that came about. The great emancipator,
right,
and then the first black or African American president coming from that same state, and then the fact that Barack Obama has studied Lincoln so much.
Yes, yes.
And I guess the word is uncanny.
Now, before we move to the inauguration that you went to also, let me ask you, what was your highlight at the convention in Denver, the national convention? Your most memorable experience there? Any?
I would say his speech.
Okay.
Well, that's difficult too, because see, keep in mind now, there were so many speakers to lead up to his speech.
Okay.
And I guess the highlight was how everyone kind of like blended and became one. How Hillary Clinton gave an outstanding speech. Bill Clinton gave an outstanding speech. We had people who were fighting each other now coming together for a common good.
Right.
And you could see that, and then you could feel it in the audience. At some point in time, everybody realized this is what's going to happen. Now we have to make it happen. And that coming together, I guess, was more than the speech itself. But the night that he gave his speech was the anniversary of Martin Luther King's speech.
That's ironic.
I had on the T-shirt with both the Dream and the Dreamer.
Oh my, okay.
And we had photographers from China taking pictures of that T-shirt. And the mere fact that it was on the anniversary of that speech was just overwhelming.
Wow.
You could not understand it and see it and witness it without having tears come to your eyes.
Now you brought back some memorabilia and tokens and things, but those are nothing compared to the memories of what took place there. Okay, let's move you then to the inauguration. How was it possible that you got to go to the inauguration?
Well, it was announced that your congressmen and senators would have X number of tickets, and you had to apply. And it is my understanding that there were 198 tickets allocated to our congressmen and over 1,000 people to apply. So I guess we did this. Hopefully he recognized those of us who worked in the vineyard.
Well, certainly.
Okay.
Sylvester Reyes.
Sylvester Reyes. So we were notified that we had 2 tickets, and we had to be in Washington, D.C. on, I think, the 19th, Monday the 19th, in order to pick them up. They did not send them to us.
Oh, no.
So I made my reservations back in November, and my flight was supposed to get there at 5 p.m., and we had to be there at 2. Oh, no. So I called Southwest and said, look, I can't get into, I need to back up. Can you get me in on Sunday? No. Saturday? No. Friday? No. Thursday? No. I had to leave a week ahead of time in order to get there. So I just said, look, get me to any airport.
It was imperative. You had
get
to
me
be
to
there.
any airport in the area on Sunday, and they flew me into Baltimore, which was not that wasn't bad. Matter of fact, it was even cheaper. I got a credit as a result of it. The next day, we stood in line 2 hours to get into the Sam Rayburn building just to get to our congressman's office.
Oh, my.
And once you got in the building, it was not a problem. But then once we got in, we got our tickets, took pictures with the staff and so forth. And the very next day, man, we had good tickets. The very next day, I did not get in.
Oh, no. How far away were you from where the inauguration was?
Oh, I was about maybe 10 feet from the gate before they closed it.
Oh, no.
And there were some very disappointed people, and I heard some people say, let us in, and I thought it was going to be like a riot. They said it 3 times, it died down, and the most extraordinary thing that I experienced there, not the inauguration,
right,
but 1.5 to 1.8 million people, and there were no arrests.
Did you sense that the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. was there looking down from the Lincoln Memorial that was kind of calming things? People, just to be there was enough, such as your case?
I don't know if it was the spirit of Martin or if it was just the mere fact that it was Barack. But we got on the metro. It was full at every stop. People couldn't get in. People pushing in. I just knew something was going to happen. It was ripe.
Right.
It was ripe for discord. It was ripe for a riot. It was ripe for everything that did not happen. It was unbelievable.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Of course, Barack Obama was stressing positive things, not negative things. He was stressing hope and caring and love and confidence, and I think that might have made a difference there.
And there were people from all over the world. While you're standing in this big crowd, you start talking to people and so forth, and everybody all over the world had that same type of calmness or satisfaction or whatever it was that caused us to be there. It transcended.
Well, did they have speakers scattered everywhere? The big jumbotrons were showing? You were able to hear the speech?
Couldn't hear, couldn't see anything. I was too close to where we're supposed to be. See, we were in the good sections.
Yeah, right.
The bad sections had all the trombones.
Oh, no.
And you couldn't get in there. So what we did was we left and went to Congressman Reyes's office and watched everything on TV and ate snacks and so forth. So we had a good time.
You could have done that by staying in El Paso and saving the fare and everything, but
not the
you
same.
needed to be there.
It's not the same. I had to be there. I had to be there.
Oh, my goodness. Now, how many other African Americans from El Paso do you know that went to the inauguration also?
I really don't know.
You have no idea?
No, I have no idea. With us, and I say us, my wife's not African American, but my vice president for membership, Dory Evans, also went. And there were a number of people, but we were not together as a group. So from the Black El Paso Democrats, there were only 2 of us. Well, 3 with my wife. She's a member of the Black El Paso Democrats. Right. So that was the only one there. So there were other people that I saw, but they're from a distance or, in passing and so forth. I don't think it was organized for different people to be there. Because I had no idea who had tickets. Until after I got there and saw people in Congressman Reyes's office.
Right. Well, I know I've seen you at several events. When I was Uncle Sam, portraying Uncle Sam, and you've taken a number of pictures at some of those events. Have you had the opportunity to go out and speak to school groups or any situations like that about your experience in this election and the inauguration? Or you anticipate doing some of those?
Yes, I have 2 or 3 scheduled for the rest of the month. There was a business group that wanted me to show some of my photo shows and what we saw and so forth. But our banquet's coming up, and we will have a lot of the different pictures and shots from the beginning, when the people were candidates, coming all the way up to the week of the banquet.
Okay.
So it's going to be there are thousands of pictures,
right?
And I have to sift through them and make a presentation from them.
Click, 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 click.
Yes.
I try not to have this program being a calendar of community events. Those are more for the morning channels. You've been on quite a few of those, haven't you?
You're my third today.
Third today.
Yes.
Okay. So that's good. But we do want the public to know that you do have an annual banquet
That's correct.
You want to mention when that usually is? Didn't you just say something?
Yes, the Black El Paso Democrats sponsor a political awareness and awards banquet every February during Black History Month.
Okay.
And that is traditional, and this is our 26th year doing it. But this year is going to be more of a celebration of what happened.
Oh.
And we want the community, those who believe in the positive change Barack talked about. We're reaching across the aisle, as they say. We want Republicans and independents and Democrats and those who believe in what he believes in to get together and come and celebrate and feel comfortable in us being able to do that without philosophy being espoused at the time.
Right.
But we have this common goal, and it's called Barack Obama.
Right. Now, there have been some times that you have honored, quote, Anglos
Sure.
at your meetings for their contributions to your work.
Sure. Every year we honor people who contribute to the Democratic Party or to the community at large. So that has no color to it.
Right.
And every year there has always been a multicultural, diverse honorees. This year we're going to honor the past works of our Representative Paul Moreno and Pat Haggerty. Both, as you know, lost their elections and so forth, but their contributions have been invaluable.
Oh, exactly.
Yes, we're going to also acknowledge those who worked in the Unity 2008 campaign to bring us all together after we were so splintered at one point in time.
Right.
I think El Paso coming together had help. There was leadership there. There was Danny Anchondo, the chair. There's Sonia Saunders, who was the chair of Unity 2008. People like Jim Scheer and Walter Boyaki and the elected officials. They all came together. Senator Shapley, Congressman Reyes. Congressman Reyes spoke at the National Convention on behalf of the Hispanic caucus. In helping nominate Barack Obama and so forth. So all of those, to include the mayor, they all came together and they helped this community go almost, 70%
Right.
Democratic.
And Reyes was one of the main speakers when Hillary Clinton was here at the Don Haskins Center. I was there dancing and performing as Uncle Sam.
He was one of her
And
people.
large numbers moved over from Hillary to Barack Obama once he got that nomination.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, your meeting is right here on us, isn't it? This year's annual meeting?
Yes, it's a
banquet.
Do I give a date?
Yeah, go ahead and give a date.
It's February the 22nd at the Wyndham, which is a Sunday, at the Wyndham Hotel. The social hour starts at 6. The program and dinner starts at 7.
Okay, so by the time this program is aired, that will probably be right there at that particular date. So that's all right. We want the public to know that you do this annually.
Yes.
In February, so that might be a little different if they watch this program 5 or 6 years from now. We have a few minutes left. Let me ask you this. How long have you been serving as chair of this group?
Let me see. I think since September 2006.
Okay. So how long is your term as chair?
It's a 2-year term, and I just got elected to the second 2-year term in 2008.
Okay. So what are your goals and objectives as Black Democrats of El Paso County in the near future?
Well, one is to make sure we become a part of the whole.
Okay.
Okay, we want to become an integral part of the Democratic Party. We want to become an integral part of the city and the state. We need to educate ourselves. We need to vote. We need to vote intelligently. We need to know who has our interests at heart, who does not have our interests at heart. We bring people in. We have the candidates night, and on and on and on. So it's a total, I guess, it's not just getting involved physically, but you need to be involved educationally to figure out what's going on and what's affecting us.
Education is a big issue for the Black community, the African American community. And UTEP has been a part of this, the history of this, with their basketball team and things of this nature. Do you have educational programs for your young people that you stress as Black Democrats?
Not per se, however, we do support others who have these types of programs. As a matter of fact, we donated money for one college student and one high school student to attend the inauguration, and that they had I guess some sort of club, or and they stayed there a week and so forth, and we do those types of things. We get involved with the students at UTEP and bring them to the programs and so forth and let them know what's going on. We have our own website, which is www.blackelpasodemocrats.org.
Okay.
And we're also featured in the www.blackelpaso.com, which is a community website.
Okay.
And all of the information, our history, what we're doing, what we want to do is all listed there. The main thing is having influence in those policies and procedures and so forth that affect us.
Okay, you've given a website. Do you want to give a telephone number for contact for anyone that's interested in supporting or helping you?
Sure. 915-433-5455.
Okay.
915-433-5455.
Okay.
And you can call that number and we'll be glad to take care of you.
Oh, well, it's good to have met you and seen you around and about and participated with you in the last few months. And we look forward to you doing great things in El Paso in the future with your organization and your own law work here in El Paso.
Thank you, sir.
I'll give you the last word. We have about 2 minutes left. Any last word you'd like to share with El Paso and perspectives on Black El Paso?
Well, you know, I'm not into last words. However, I believe this year and the election of Barack Obama has brought people to the forefront of citizenship. I was telling you earlier that my grandson is due March the 3rd, and if Barack has 2 terms, that's all he'll ever know. He was born into the world with a black president. He'll like, grandfather, you know, what's all that all about? You know, what are you talking about? Because that's normal. What we want to do is eventually eliminate the need for Black El Paso Democrats.
That anybody could be president of the United States.
See, all these years we've been lying. Now we can tell a child, a black child, the truth. You can be president and not feel guilty about the fact that in the back of your mind, you know it's not going to happen.
Right, and many people are saying it would not happen in our lifetime.
In our lifetime.
And it has happened in our lifetime and in his lifetime.
That's right.
That's a wonderful way to end this program on Perspectives El Paso. From the perspectives of Don Williams, attorney, political activist, and chair of Black Democrats of El Paso County. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for other programs.